Got it. Cool.
Hello, my peoples. Oh, yes. Let's click us over. Come on in, children. Come on in. Come on in, children. Come on in. Tonight we've got a special for me because I have wanted to get Aaron Jonah Lewis on here forever and a day, and it seemed like every time we began to try to get communicated, connected up, always something. But make yourself at home. We were talking just a little earlier about his endeavors and what's going on with Aaron Jonah Lewis. If you've got a song on your mind, you go ahead and play on, do whatever. You got the floor, and you're doing clawhammer style. Am I correct?
I do a little bit of everything, I think. I'm not I wouldn't claim to be an expert in clawhammer. Well, I do get hired to be an expert in clawhammer sometimes, so I guess I am a little bit, but because I haven't made any records of purely clawhammer music. I play it a lot for fun. I play it in jams and stuff. I always think of clawhammer as like a really it is really great solo, but I don't think of it. I don't often perform solo clawhammer. Although I guess I have been a little more lately. I don't know. It's just really fun. It's groovy. It's like it's basically like an older style of banjo playing, so it's more closer, like you were talking about, earthy, and it's kind of like playing a drum basically, because the banjo is a drum, but it's got strings, so it's the best of both worlds, right?
I love it. I love it.
So
I love it. I love it.
just what fell under the fingers.
I find myself in the people that come in to my live streams. I find, and I'm not against taking requests if it's something they know that I've played, but a lot of times it's a wet blanket. If you've got 10 people to ask you to play 10 different songs and you know none of them, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you do covers, and I'm a cover fanatic. That's my problem. Andrew Merritt's in the house. Ronnie, Grant, Lisa Lee's right here. Come on in, children. Come on in. So we were talking earlier about you living in Detroit now for how long?
7 years. It's where I grew up, but I left when I was 15, so I was never really an adult in Detroit until I moved back 7 years ago.
So I think maybe in Austin. Have you ever been in Austin before?
Yeah. I think it was 2013 for what's it called? The big music thing that they do
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Uh, South by Southwest thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it was. I met some cool people there.
So how long have you I'm not going to get too personal because we don't want to be time stamping ourselves. Uh, you know, yeah, I don't want to time stamp myself. The bar's open, children. Whiskey Woman is in the house and the bar's open. So, how old were you when you first? And I've asked everybody that's been on Artisan Spotlight, how old were you when you first? When you first, what was the first instrument, and how old were you when you first got your first instrument?
Okay, so I'll try and keep it brief, but I was 3 when my grandfather brought a full-size viola to the house. And I don't know who it was for, but I couldn't stop touching it. I was always opening the case up and touching it and saying, I want to play it. I want to play it. Full-size viola is about as big as a 3-year-old child. So
Yeah, yeah,
I wasn't going to play that instrument, but my parents saw that I had the interest, and when I was about to turn 5, they got me started on violin lessons.
oh, that's cool.
And my teacher was originally from Kentucky, and so he didn't teach me fiddle, specifically. We were doing more of a classical track, but when I
Right.
had a good lesson and there was a little extra time, he let me play some fiddle tunes, read some fiddle tunes and stuff. So that was my first exposure to it. Um, So yeah, fiddle is really the instrument that for me is like a part of my body, and I could just
Yeah,
the only limitation with it is my imagination, which I'll admit is not as big as some. I like traditional stuff, so I have not ever gotten into like contemporary jazz, for example. I hear it, I respect it, and I'm like, that's beyond me. I'm gonna stay in this lane I'm in. I'm good with the old time fiddle stuff and early jazz. I love it all. But yeah, so I didn't pick up banjo until I was about 20 maybe.
right.
And I mean, it's a little bit longer story of how I ended up getting into, I grew up in Detroit and I never even seen a banjo as a kid. How did I end up like playing in bluegrass bands and you know going to all these festivals and playing old time music and all that stuff, which is like, you know it's not like it never existed in the North, but it's definitely more of a Southern thing. It's always been bigger thing in the South.
Right.
um but I did, yeah, through meeting people, I ended up joining a band and I ended up moving to Virginia and staying there for about 10 years.
So that
uh,
is so cool.
yeah, so that's how I got into banjo. And then banjo has also like led me down all these different twisty paths of first it was bluegrass because that's very obvious. Most people, when you say banjo, they think bluegrass,
Yeah, no,
or
no.
or maybe not. Maybe they think Pete Seeger, or maybe they think jazz, which is also totally legit, or Irish music. Anyway, banjo's all over the place. Very cool instrument. And I could go on and on about the history of the banjo and all the different styles of banjo playing. And so yeah, I started with bluegrass banjo, but then quickly got into clawhammer, which what I was doing at the start of this. Clawhammer is just for me like very relaxing and enjoyable. Doesn't take a lot of thought. I compare it to riding a bicycle. You can just kind of relax and go with it.
Whatever
Um,
you feel, whatever you feel. That's what I was talking about earlier. If you play what you feel, if I sit here with my guitar and I play what I feel, uh you don't have to you don't have to pretend. You don't There's no pretense. There's no there's no hiding how you feel,
mhm.
because music, you're an open book. Whether some people read the book or never read the book, but you're an open book.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think it can be so powerful. And yeah, exactly, when you're playing without pretense, you're just sharing how you feel through music. You don't really need any special training to understand it or to appreciate it. You just have to be open to accepting it, you know. um I had an experience a couple of weeks ago where I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was kind of a camp out situation out in the woods. And uh we were all we'd all just kind of been through an experience together that was very opening and sharing, and it was quite beautiful. And then we were about to have a meal, and while people were getting the food ready, I started playing some fiddle tunes, and
Oh,
everyone
perfect.
was just so open, and we were just sitting around the fire, and people started singing and dancing and playing drums and tambourines and stuff. And it was just this beautiful feeling of like, man, this is what our ancestors always did. This is the way it's always been until pretty recently. Like, this would just be every night, or I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, but you know what I mean? It's like, this is a very
Well,
human enjoyment. Like, and I bet most of us have been in a situation like that at some point, and you just have this feeling of like being at home. It's like a really comfortable, you know,
yep.
like a safe but also exciting kind of feeling. And I don't know, it's too rare. That's all. I want more of it. I want
Yeah.
everybody to have
Well,
more
see,
of.
when you talked about your teacher from Kentucky, that's where I am. I'm
Right.
in I'm in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So 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 the front porch picking, the front porch picking was even in my time was a thing. I did it. I've done it countless Sunday evenings, countless. I'd go to a William Morton's house, and we would sit in on the swing and on chairs, and we would all take turns in singing how we felt. Now they didn't want you to sing something they requested. You never heard a request. Sing. You never heard that. They just look at you and say, "Go ahead," you know. And it wasn't none of that. There wasn't any of that. No, go ahead. No, I don't have anything. They didn't want to hear that. It was go ahead, Roland. You know, and you know, and you just fired it off, and everybody just played. But
Yeah.
that's the way it was growing up for me, and I miss that. Like you said, it's a. I look at it now, and you say you want more of it, and I look at it now, and I wished I still had it,
Hmm.
and that's sad. That's sad.
Yeah, I think it's something I think about a lot, honestly, and I don't want to try to oversimplify it, but um it seems like we lose some really special things in the name of other
Yeah,
things that we maybe don't understand as well or haven't been around as long.
right.
And I'm not an anti-technology. I'm not anti progress. And again, like, not going to try to get too political or anything, but we are in danger of losing some of the things that we've just always had as humans, um in the name of, I'm not really even sure how to describe, but yeah, it seems like there's sort of something there's momentum. It's kind of getting out of control, maybe. Like, I don't know.
Whether whether
Yeah.
we whether we agree, and we were talking about this earlier, whether people like beards or don't like beards. You know what I'm saying?
Both,
You
kind of.
know, now we're on now. But music, regardless if you believe the way they believe, if you like beards, don't like beards. I like moonshine. I love moonshine. I'm a moonshine connoisseur. But the thing about it is, music is a common ground. You could absolutely just totally disagree with me, and I could sing a song that could touch your heart or change your mind about something or stop and make you think. And you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Maybe I wasn't, maybe I misjudged, or maybe I just leave that part out. That's like taking the vegetable soup. I'll be honest with you, I'm guilty. Pick the green beans out because they're soggy. Okay. I'll pick the green beans out, but I'll eat the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been teaching music? How long have you been actually, how long have you been after the teaching aspect, or how long has the teaching aspect been after you? That's the question I should ask.
Yeah, I think I started teaching. I think I was probably 19 or 20 when I started teaching, and it was just a sort of friend or an acquaintance wanted to learn fiddle and said, "You know a lot about this. Can you help me?" I said, "Sure. I'll show you what I know." And it was a few years after that that I decided to actually go for a teacher training course. So I did that, and I have a certificate in the Suzuki method, which I don't need to go into great detail about it, but that's how I learned as a kid. And I think it's pretty great. It's not the only way to learn, of course. But it's what I did, and I think it's great. So yeah, I kind of started teaching that long ago, about 20 years ago. And then I really,
Timestamp ourselves. Don't timestamp us.
I know. Well, it's no secret. I don't know. You could find out pretty easily how old I am from looking on the internet. I don't care. But yeah, it was when I moved to Virginia that I started teaching a lot more because I was out of school and I needed work.
Right.
And my plan was to move to Virginia and just be a performer all the time. I kind of had that in my mind for years, but when I got there, I didn't have enough work to pay the rent from just performing. Although I did perform a lot, I played with, usually 10 or 12 bands at a time, which was just heaven for me. I've always been addicted to the variety, play with a jazz band one night, a bluegrass band the next night, and some kind of experimental rock band, and just all over the place. I love it. But yeah, so that's when I really started teaching. At that point I was teaching banjo, guitar, mandolin, fiddle. I was even teaching bass lessons. I had one bass student. I'm like, I'm not really a bass, but
Yeah.
the thing is, and I tell this to most of my students, it's like, I will help you learn to play this instrument, but that's not my goal, is for you to be able to play this instrument. I want to teach you music.
Right.
I want you to understand what's going on in what you're hearing and what you want to play, and being able to play it and to have your own ideas, and just to kind of broaden your ability to understand music and to express yourself through music, because it's like a language. It's like you got to learn the grammar and all the different, you could learn the origins of the different words and all that kind of stuff. You could go on and never stop learning. There's no limit.
Yeah. But like we were talking about earlier, though, and that falls back to you saying, and that helped me tremendously. I mean, just that alone helped me tremendously when you said, if you think that you've met a lot of artists, whether it be musicians or you've met a lot of artists that didn't think they were good enough, and you are your worst critic when it comes to anything you want to perfect, because it's never going to be good enough for you. You're always going to be hard on yourself. And a lot of times I find if I satisfy me, that's enough. That's enough. But that helped me tremendously when you said earlier that you'd known a lot of people that just felt in their heart that they wasn't good enough, and they were excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, just being good enough is not good enough. You'll never be good enough if you have that attitude. It's not about being good. or being good enough. It's about having a good time. And, you know, I know people, I played with people who are not trained in any way, and they've maybe not even been playing that long, but they have this freedom in their playing and they're expressing themselves. And it's a joy to play with them and to hear them play. And you could sit there and say, oh, I can see you have limitations. I can see you haven't been playing that long. Nobody's going to say that. Nobody cares. It's about the moment. It's about the feeling. You know, you're sharing something beautiful. And it's actually kind of a handicap for people who have studied for a long time, because they get built in these kind of judgments, the self judgments of oh, I didn't do that perfectly, oh, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to get through that myself, and be around. I think it was, you know, when I got into playing old time music, because old time isn't about performance, you know, it's about being together. It's not even about knowing all the tunes or never playing a wrong note or getting all the chords perfectly right. Or nobody cares about that. What matters is that you have a good time together.
Yep, exactly. Now that leads me to one oddball question. So have you made your way up to Lansing, Michigan to visit Elderly Music?
Oh yeah, many times. I've taught workshops there. Um, that's a that is just a paradise
Oh, it is. It is. It's
destination. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm friends with some of the people who work there, and I'm actually planning a trip to go there again soon, because my sister wants to buy maybe a guitar, maybe a banjo, maybe both. She
Yeah.
already has a banjo and a guitar, but she's ready to upgrade. You know, that's how it is with instruments too. Is like you get an instrument and you play it for years, and you realize through playing it what you want out of an instrument. And you could say, oh, I want one that's just like this, but smaller in
Yep.
size, or I want one that's just like this, but a little bit quieter, or a little louder, or a little brighter, or, you know, I want this a feeling that this instrument has, but I want the sound to be different, or vice versa. I want the same sound, but the feeling, you know, you only learn by doing. So yeah, I'm really proud of her, because I don't know, I'm not going to take credit for her like getting into music, because she was always into music too, but I have played some part in encouraging her along the way, and like showing her tunes and introducing her to people and stuff. And so, you know, it really makes me happy that we get to both live in the same city and play together once in a while, and, you know, organize square dancing and, you know, whatnot. I'll go to take trips to Elderly. You know, it's great.
Because we had, me and a friend of mine, I lived in Michigan for some years. Yeah, for real. And me and a friend of mine, he wanted to do a road trip. He wanted to Gibson. He wanted the J45, but he didn't want it. He didn't want it with a pickup. He just wanted just a J45. I think he bought a deluxe. The best I can remember. That's been so long. Well, we made a road trip up to Elderly Music, and that was before the age of phones, of course. And there used to be a stereo shop across from the store. So us being the kind of people that we are from Kentucky, we go over and we say, have you got a camera? He said, I've got a Polaroid right here, a Polaroid now. And so I stood on the steps. He took a picture of me. Then we kind of swapped out, and we took the camera back over, and it was like little kids being at Toys R Us. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Taylors, Martins, Gibsons, all around the walls.
And that's just in the storeroom. I mean, you know, they got the vaults full of vintage
upstairs,
treasures. It's an amazing place.
So Les, have you got a song? Have you got a song on your mind? Don't let me talk you out, talk you down, or talk you around.
Yeah, no, I thought maybe I'd share a fiddle tune, and I could think of something out of my brain, which I do a lot, but I also started this game. I came up with this idea for all the solo shows I was going to be playing, And then of course it didn't end up happening. So I made a YouTube series out of it. And I actually haven't posted one in a while, but it's this game where I got these little wooden discs and I wrote the names of tunes on them. And I did about 300 or so of these, and I put them in a bag, and then I pull a tune out and I play it. So it's a way for me to keep it fresh. So it's not just like the same tune I've been thinking of for the past month and playing every day, which is cool too. But I also imagined it as kind of a way to interact with the audience, let them pick out coins and so let's try one of these, shall we?
Yes, most definitely. I like the bag. I do like the bag.
Yeah, I think you recognize the bag, right?
Off the bat, I like the bag.
So
okay.
if anyone out there wants to see the series, I've posted, I'm not sure, 15 or 20 of these so far. You can find my channel on YouTube. It's just Aaron Jonah Lewis, and look up for Tunes from the Bag. It's called Tunes from the Bag.
And also there's more information we're going to give you all. But when the video ends and I get to editing, I'll have all of his contact information, everything that you need to know to reach out to Aaron for some music, because we're going to talk about that here in just a little while. I think you're going to like this one.
All right, let's do a tune. Okay, I'm picking.
What's in the bag? What's in the bag? What's in the bag?
I got one here now. This one. It's called Wrestling with a Wildcat.
Wrestling with a Wildcat. That's that hit home right there. I'll hush now.
So I learned this tune from my friend Nick Stillman, who's actually been one of my fiddle heroes since I started playing old time music. And I learned it from him not too long ago, and then I was playing it a bunch with my band, the Corn Potato String Band. One of the things we do on stage, we're a very short attention span band. We're constantly changing instruments and doing different things. But Lindsay McCaw, who's another member of the band, she's great at dancing, flatfoot dancing. So we'd usually throw that into a show. She'd do some dancing, and me and Ben, the other guy, just a trio, three of us, we'd play some fiddle tune or other. So this became one of the tunes we'd play a lot for those moments. And I think it's usually played in cross A, but I'm just gonna make it work with this.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Oh man,
I love it.
It's good when the fiddler starts drooling.
I had this big, while you was playing, I had this big goober grin that I couldn't get rid of. I was like, oh man. Oh, my grandpa, my great grandpa, he used to play, and I had never in my life ever touched a fiddle, and I wanted to so bad, and I still want to. And I'm just so afraid. But that is phenomenal. I love it.
Well, thank you. And that's what it is. It's confronting a fear, is learning to play an instrument. Learning anything is really like confronting that fear of, I can't do it. I won't be able to. I won't be good. I'm not good enough.
Right. Well,
Go for it, Roland. Get a cheap fiddle from Facebook Marketplace, fix it up and go for it. There's nothing to lose. It is, I will not lie, it's hard. It is not easy. Banjo is a lot easier if you want to just like make a nice sound.
Yeah.
Because you can just touch it and it sounds good. If you want to do a lot of fancy stuff, that's hard. But fiddle, there's kind of a learning curve of just even making a sound on it. That's can be discouraging. So it's only the most determined weirdos who end up actually.
My great grandpa was a weirdo. Yeah, he was awesome. My dad, he had gotten hurt in the mines and he couldn't walk. So he would lay in the bed. My grandpa would have to take him and put him in the chair in the front room or take him out on the porch. But most of the time, if he was laying in bed, he'd say, boys, get my fiddle down off the wall. And they'd get his fiddle. He left it hanging on the wall now. And Dad said there would be a little cake of rosin dust on his pillow when he was done. And Dad said you didn't have to guess. He would sit upright, and Dad said you didn't have to guess what he was playing. He said you knew what he was playing, and he was just actually that good. And for them not to, some people have it, and some people like me have to struggle to get anything out of it. But that was amazing. That was amazing. So on to the next question. The studio work.
Yeah. I guess I first saw the inside of a studio when I made the first album with the band that I moved to Virginia to play with. And God, I don't know if anybody knew what they were doing. There's one or two of the guys were like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You're young and you do stuff.
Yeah.
You do stuff to learn. So we all learn stuff. I've made a lot of records. I mean, not as many as some, but a lot more than probably most. And most of those records I have produced myself. Again, like just learning by doing. So some of them are kind of more rough than others. But I have also done a lot of studio work for people, both friends and strangers, Here in Detroit, I just recorded the most recent thing that came out was by an artist named Matthew Adkins, who, he's a singer-songwriter. He's got really nice songs and a good voice. And my friend Bunky Hunt's the producer and called me in to play on. It might have just been one track, but it was really fun. So yeah, I do that kind of stuff too. There's not a huge amount of demand for old time and bluegrass fiddle and banjo around here, but when there is, I don't know if I'm the only guy people call, but I'm at least one of them. I'm one of them.
You're the go-to guy. So we've got the Jonah effect. Okay, pull a chip out of the bag and play it. I'm gonna have to try that.
It's just fun.
By myself alone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to. But do I get to drink the Crown Royal before or after the fact? That's the question.
Before, after, and during.
Okay, yeah, I like the way you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun game. I think you could do it with anyone who's got a lot of songs that they know. That's a fun thing to do. I don't know. You could come up with any kind of thing you want to put in that bag and pull it out. I actually have some extra surprises in there, but I'm waiting till I reach 50 Patreon subscribers to make it official. Like, and there's a bunch of surprises, basically just fun ways to play the game, different rules. So we did level 1 there. You pull a tune out and you play it. Cool. That's totally enough. but then I also came up
Yeah,
with
you got, yeah, you
ways to make it more complicated and more challenging for
yeah.
me. So, I mean, really, my goal was to find ways to push myself to the point where I fail in front of the audience, because partly
I do
that's
that every Sunday, so I don't.
it's partly a way for me to overcome the fear of failure, right? To just say, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to
Yeah,
fail, and I'll do it with a smile on my face, and
yeah,
it'll be fine. I'm going to live, and the show is not going to be destroyed because of it. It's not going to be ruined. Um, so yeah. And I also figured, in my experience of performing, I think people respond the most, not when you're playing perfectly, but when you're being real. Like, people can tell. Like, there's no I think
yeah,
most audiences they're not critical of whether you're good at your instrument. They're critical of whether you are trying to fool them or pretend you're something you're not. And that doesn't exclude people who perform as a character. They put on a costume and makeup or whatever they do. You can still do that in a very real way. It doesn't mean you're faking anything. I mean, I've got friends who, I'm not going to name names, but friends who are more famous than me who play under an assumed name.
yeah,
It's a stage name, and they maybe talk different on stage, maybe dress different than they normally would. Um, and for a minute, I was a little bit confused or critical of that kind of thing, because I was like, I'm just myself when I'm on stage, but I'm actually like myself on stage when I'm on stage. So that's
right.
kind of what they're doing. They're like, this is a part of me that doesn't come out when I'm like sitting across from you at Denny's, or we're driving to the next gig together or whatever. This is a part of me that comes out when I'm on stage, and it's a real part of me, and I want to share it with people. So audiences know that. They can tell if you dressed up and talked in a different way than normal, and it wasn't a part of you, they would know, and they would
Yep,
probably get up and leave, because that's
yep.
just not that's not
You're
worth your
exactly,
time.
you're exactly right. You're exactly, but back to what I was saying, uh, when it comes to music, if you write, if you perform, if you're the sound guy, regardless of what you do in music, you're an open book, and it's just up to those people whether they want to read it or not. Some people maybe some people go straight to the back and read the ending of the book. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I want to find out how Henry gets caught.
Yeah.
They'll go to the main back of the book, and but there's so many more layers, so many more chapters that brought you here. The reason I'm sitting here, and most of the people that's in the chat knows the story. But okay, now as far as writing, what's your aspect, your take on writing?
I hate
Just
it. I don't like writing. At least writing words. Writing music is fun. um and I
yeah,
sometimes want to do more of it, but it's really been my attitude kind of since I got into this stuff. um it started with bluegrass, and then I got into old time, and then from there just got into all kinds of the different nooks and crannies. And I just thought, there's so much amazing music that no one's playing anymore, or that very few people are playing, that so many people haven't heard. I'm more interested in digging that up and polishing it off and holding it up to the light and sharing it, learning the stories behind it. I've really gotten interested in history through my love of music, which I never expected. As a kid, I was not interested that much in history. But in the way that it's all about stories, and it's about music, like the stories around the music,
right.
I'm fascinated, and I love to share that. So I have done some writing. I've written. I have one album of original material, and it's completely so different from everything else that I've done, because it's more experimental and electronic. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people might think it's really cool, but I don't expect many people to to be that interested. So I don't know. I think I've gotten like 2 people downloaded it since I released it. So
Yeah. It's especially if you're pouring your heart out on paper in lyrics. I even to do my own music, I get nervous. It's not that I don't know the song, or it's just you're vulnerable. You are so vulnerable at that point in time when you're performing your own stuff, and it's not looking for acceptance or any denying, but you're there you are standing,
yeah.
and
I
it's
have to confess, I have a lot of respect for the people who write songs and perform them, because most of the songs I've written with words are mostly kind of joke songs. So I'm a
yes,
little bit hiding behind some humor. I'm not really actually talking about my feelings much.
right.
And I've written a handful of tunes like without words. Um, I could play one of those.
Yeah, do it, please do.
Okay, I don't remember how I started writing this one, but it was inspired by Bob Wills, who's the great, the father of Western swing. Anyone
Yeah,
who
I know.
hasn't heard of Bob Wills, look him up.
Yeah,
Amazing music, just just wonderful. You can listen intently to it and get a lot from just listening. You can easily dance to it, and you can also just talk over it and have it be in the background. It's a good versatile kind of music. So anyway, I was inspired by something of his, and I probably was also inspired by Fiddlin' Arthur Smith from Tennessee, who's one of my all-time favorite fiddlers as well. Uh, and I was playing this for a while before I came up with a name for it, and it's named for a little white dog named Albie. So it's called Albie's Waltz.
The Albie tune, right?
Albie's Waltz, yeah.
Albie's Waltz. Oh my God, Albie's Waltz! I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, uh, so you have digital download on all of your music, or just part of your music, or
Yeah. So the unfortunate thing, or maybe fortunate thing, is if you look me up on Spotify, you'll find my most recent album, but everything else that I've recorded is under different band names. So
yeah.
there's Corn Potato String Band, which we've made 4 albums. There's the Square Peg Rounders and Wild Hog, each made an album. Froggy Mountain Boys, which that might not be on Spotify. That might only be special. Already got to order a CD from me for that one. But if you do want to see all my music that I've produced in one place, just go to my website, aaronjonahlewis.com, and then just click where it says music, and you'll see a page of stuff. You can stream it all for free on Bandcamp. It's also anywhere where digital music is: Spotify, Apple Music,
And
whatever.
I'll also have the links in the description box below of this video. That way you can contact Aaron Jonah Lewis to pick up his latest. What is your latest? What is your very latest? What? Show us your very latest piece of work.
So this is my most recent release. It's called Mozart of the Banjo.
Oh, this
It's a very focused album. It's got great artwork, which I'm very proud of, that my partner Grace made.
oh
Oh, see, the ring light is not great for the glossy, but oh, there's me. So this album is all pieces by a composer named Joe Morley, who was a British banjo composer and banjo player around the turn of the century. He was born in the late 19th century, and this is kind of like an attempt to bring to light a kind of banjo music that has been mostly forgotten, like to the point where there's literally hundreds of people in the whole world who still play this music. But 100 years ago, 120 years ago, turn of the century, it was the most popular kind of music in the English speaking world. So in the US and in England,
yeah.
in the UK. So it's just another thing about that history thing. It's like fascinating. When I found out about this kind of banjo music, initially, to be honest, I thought it was kind of silly because I was into bluegrass, and I thought, why'd you play this old stuff? Bluegrass is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But gradually I got more interested just through meeting people and learning more about it. Yeah, Curly and Carol Ann of the Old 78s were my first contact with it, and then Greg Adams, who I met through Carol Ann and Curly, was really the person who kind of drew me into it. And he's still kind of a mentor for me because he's super knowledgeable and he's a great player. He's actually an archivist at the Smithsonian as his
That's
full-time
cool.
job. So it's his
That-
job to know a lot about this stuff. And he's just a really great guy too, and a good friend. So what was I saying about this album? So yeah, let me play a little example for you, because you might not have heard this kind of banjo music before, right? It predates bluegrass, it predates jazz. It actually predates ragtime, although there's a lot of overlap. They were happening at the same time. Scott Joplin's parents both played this kind of music. They were both banjo players, so something to do with the ragtime.
yeah.
And my current project is playing ragtime pieces on the banjo as well. So let me play you a Joe Morley piece to start, and then maybe I'll do a ragtime number as
Oh,
well.
that'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Take the floor. Yes.
And for anyone out there who's technical minded, this is a so to play classic banjo, you can use an open back or a resonator banjo. This is a resonator. This is a Weaver banjo, British made, 1920s. This is a late model. They were active for a long time, and it's actually the same kind of banjo that Joe Morley played. So it could be the same. I don't know. It's not the same banjo, but it's
Yeah.
a similar thing. So let me pick out a fun number from here to play. Also, this is cool because I recorded a bunch of his stuff that has never been recorded before. And this music was popular in the time period before recordings were possible or
Right,
really available to
right,
many people. I don't want to say possible. They were making recordings in the 19th century, but it was very few people had access.
right.
And this was just popular music. So yeah, that's part of
So
the reason why.
you revived music that actually would have been like a lot of people should do. You've revived something that had no life other than what you had found. Am I pretty close to?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely one thing that's cool about the classic banjo scene. It's very, very small, which is like, okay, so there's not a whole lot going on, but you do have access to pretty much all the great players, and they it's a living tradition. Basically, it never died out completely. So I can go
Right,
and hang out with people who hung out with the great players of their grandparents' generation and pretty much have a direct link all the way back to when it started. So yeah, that is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm not trying to, yeah, I guess I am trying to revive. It's not just this style though. So I'm interested in this style for a few reasons. One reason is that it's fun music. It's really interesting. It's kind of challenging to play. So it's like kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. Like you spend a long time working on it and you finally get it all together, and then you show your friends and they're like, that's nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, wait a minute.
I
Do you
do
really?
enjoy that.
Yeah,
But also I really enjoy it for the story part of it, the history, because of where it fits into the bigger story of American popular entertainment or English as well. Because I don't want to say I don't know why it's been overlooked, but it has been, right? If you think about music, uh, honestly, most people don't really even think much about the music that was happening before recordings were available. I went on a local music tour with a organization. We got on a bus and drove around Detroit to look at the important sites. It was very cool, and I really loved all the history. And I asked a question like, "Do you know anything about what the music scene was like before recordings were available? In the 19th century?" And they just said, "Well, Detroit had Motown, and before that there was jazz and blues, but who really cares about anything older than that?" I was like,
right, right,
you know,
right.
history, I think history is a lot of fun. Also think it's pretty important because we're in danger of making a lot of the same mistakes that have already been made. And it's just embarrassing to think when this history's been recorded, it's been documented. It's not hard to find out these stories, but they aren't promoted by large media sources. They're not talking
Right,
about it on TV or in the social media.
right.
So a lot of the stuff I'm doing isn't even on the internet. I'm getting stories from older people who, they're not putting stuff on the internet. So it's really special. I kind of compare the classic banjo world to Hogwarts because it's hiding in plain sight, and it's kind of a self-selecting thing. Like you have to choose to go there, and once you do, you'll find people with huge amounts of knowledge, and they are happy to share it. They are really interested in sharing it. So yeah, I was gonna go last weekend. I planned to go to New York State to a town on the Erie Canal west of Rochester for the banjo rally, the classic banjo rally of the American Banjo Fraternity, which I've
That
been
is
going to for a few years, and it's awesome. We got some great friends there. We just play lots of tunes, have a lot of laughs. It's great. It's a very small group. It's usually about 20 people, maybe 30. I'd say 40 tops, including spouses and children. But it's great.
yeah.
And we had to cancel at the last minute because they found bed bugs and mold in the hotel rooms. So good thing it was canceled.
Yeah,
But
for real.
it's a pretty fragile, community. Like most of the folks involved are elderly. Um, and I want them to stick around forever, but
Yeah,
they're not going to be forever, and then there's not going to be a lot of younger people left to keep it going.
exactly right. If the knowledge that you have, and I'm not being macabre, I'm not being, but the knowledge that the viewers, the people are watching, you, me, the knowledge that we have, if we don't pass that along, the understanding, the music, the history of music, it if you know something, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, if you don't share that, if you don't document that, if you don't get that out there, like your latest piece, uh if something happens to Aaron, you haven't told me about that, you haven't showed me about that, so it goes with Aaron.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That reminds me of I read this book. I read it a couple times because the first time I read it, I said I have to read this again immediately. It was such a good book. And it was about indigenous ways of seeing the world, and
yeah,
he was kind of commenting on civilization in particular, but it's a book that went very narrow focus and very broad focus. It was
right,
very kind of like someone just talking, just like we're talking is what it
yeah,
was like. And one of the things the author talks about was this storing knowledge, right? Like we store knowledge on hard drives now. That's kind of the main thing. We also have books.
mm-hmm.
Um, but he says the best way to store knowledge is in people, in relationships. So there's systems so that any one person who knows anything also shares it with one other person. So for
Yeah,
that reason, if one of them is gone, then the other person can pass it on. So the knowledge is kept. And that's like in some ways like humanity can be a living hard drive. And if we
yeah,
want to, if we're responsible about it, we can just grow knowledge and never lose it.
exactly right. I
Yeah.
agree 100%.
It's a different way of doing things, but I love the idea of it. And I think it's pretty foreign to most of us in our Western culture, but it is fascinating to think about how much knowledge different people have been able to pass on from generation to generation. I always thought oral traditions must be really unreliable, but it depends on the culture, right? If the culture like
Right.
really holds on to it and is really serious about it, that seems like it'd be more reliable than writing things down, because you write it down, it could get burned up, it could get lost, it could get flooded, it, you know, you just put it
So,
away and
so
forget about it and it's lost.
just think about this just for a minute, just for a second. And I mean, it's kind of a heartbreaker. The very first person to come up or to realize or to invent or to feel the clawhammer style, that didn't share that knowledge with his neighbor or his friend or his brother or his kin, and something happened to that person, we would have never known the clawhammer style.
It is, well, I would like to share more about where clawhammer style comes from and where the
Right.
banjo comes from, but I also want to say that it is a heartbreaker, especially when you think about the way that we spotlight and elevate certain voices, certain people above others, right? It's just kind of has to be that way in our
Yeah.
system,
Right.
because everybody's trying to get mass attention. Like I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be on,
I'm beyond. Yeah. Yeah.
millions of
No.
views or streams. I don't care about that. I want to be famous where I live with the people I know. Uh, and I don't even want to be famous for being good at music. I want to be famous for being a nice guy and being able to help each other. That's what I care
Yeah.
about. But but yeah, there are so many examples of brilliant artists, musicians, painters, sculptors, dancers, all kinds. And um, their work never gets appreciated, never gets discovered. Sometimes people discover it after they're gone and they say, oh, we had to clean
Yeah.
up the house and we discovered these amazing journals of like, stacks of journals with great writing and stuff like that. And yeah, we just lose it. We're kind of like, we're throwing our food in the trash or,
Yeah. I
it's
agree.
it's
I
just
agree.
that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing here and your motivation of like trying to get people to know. And I wouldn't actually want the spotlight to be so much on me. I mean, I'm happy to share what I've got here. But I want everyone who's watching this to know that right in your community, down the street, or on the other side of town, there's very likely there's somebody making incredible work, or at least dreaming incredible dreams. Maybe it's I don't know, there's something going on that no one's finding out about.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly
just
right. Exactly right.
so, yeah, that just kind of makes me want to just promote, more communication in a local setting, like community building, like real life community, not virtual community. Though there's nothing wrong with virtual community, but it's not the same thing. Like,
No, it's not. It's not. You're lacking. You're lacking a lot of things when it comes to the virtual uh, community.
yeah,
Uh, many times now, and they can attest to this. I would be here live, and I'd be doing cover songs, and I'd be probably about in the fourth stage of being drunk, forgetting lyrics, forgetting chords. And I'd stop and I'd be like, shit, I wish you guys were right here with me, right here. Cause I'd pass you the jar. And that's the hard part. You know what I'm saying? It is, it's
yeah,
the hard part because I can't pass you the jar because I can't, I don't see nobody flat footing or nobody up on the floor. And it's tough. It's tough, really tough to pull off a stream and really put your heart into it. And at the end of the day, you close shop up and go in the house
yeah,
in hopes that you've done your best. That's. I just want to bring people together. I just want to have a good time. I just want to. It gives me a good reason to drink. But anyway, no, I'm just. But all joking aside, that's why. That's why I don't know. 3 years, maybe 3 years, and it's not for no pats on the back. Oh, you're doing good. It's not for no. I'm old man. I'm not wanting to be famous. I'm just wanting to share the music. Now, I'll shut up and let you play.
yeah. Keep it going. Okay, so I decided I'll play a piece from the album called "A Banjo Frolic," and this will be a different sounding kind of music on the banjo than you may have heard before. I've heard people compare it to silent movie music, and I say, well, that's about the right time period, so it fits. This is parlor music. People didn't have recordings, they didn't have radio, they didn't have internet or TV or anything. So this is what everybody did, for entertainment, pretty much any night of the week, going to each other's houses and playing music. So it's kind of fun to just relive that in a way. When I read some of this sheet music, I'm doing the same thing that somebody would have done 100 years ago, 120 years ago, just figuring out what notes are these now and discovering the sounds that it makes. And it's really fun. So here it is, the Banjo Frolic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That is parlor at its best. And it made me think of C.F. Martin. 1833, parlor guitars were made from gut strings, mostly for women.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly for women. Just little parlor guitars. Uh, just, I mean, just unreal what people done to entertain, because you couldn't flip on the TV. You was either working with the mules or you was in the parlor with the family playing parlor
Right.
music.
And
Beautiful,
musical
beautiful.
literacy was very high. It was like most people could read music and play something, or at
Yeah,
least sing. And yeah, and this style of banjo also doesn't have metal strings. It's would have been gut traditionally, but nylon
nylon.
lasts longer and sounds better and it's cheaper.
Yeah,
So you use nylon. Um, but yeah, maybe I'll give just a little brief story about the history of the banjo, right?
yeah,
So the banjo uh, was invented in the US by enslaved people who were brought over from Africa.
right.
And it's a very similar to a lot of African instruments in West Africa. None of them are the same as the banjo, but there's a lot of them that are basically very similar, like a drum head with a neck and strings attached,
Yeah,
right? So when people were taken from Africa and brought to the New World, they didn't bring banjos with them, but they brought the memory of the banjo. And I think it's really powerful to think about if you were somehow sucked up into a
yeah,
UFO and brought to another planet, what would you create out of these new materials that you're not familiar with? What would you build to remind you of home and to bring your community together? Maybe you're separated from your family, you don't speak the same language as everyone around you, but you want to do something so you can grieve together and celebrate together and
yeah,
express your identity. So it's a very powerful instrument because of that. There's a lot of power to the instrument, I think.
yeah,
And I do try to be uh sensitive to the appropriation of it, because it's a repeating pattern that
sacred.
people are oppressed, and then they generate culture to as a survival mechanism, and then that culture gets appropriated by the people who are oppressing them. That's a repeating pattern you can see throughout history.
Yeah,
So in the early days of the banjo, it was associated with the plantation, right? And it was adapted and developed for greater use in the minstrel shows, which minstrel shows were a type of entertainment that was really new. It was invented in the US, and it's also how the banjo got to England, was because of traveling minstrels. But a minstrel show was where people, at the beginning at least, it was white men, but gradually Black people and women were also participating in this. They would
yeah,
paint their faces black and they would perform these cartoonish kind of mockery of Black people, right? Of enslaved Black people, of freed Black people, to kind of, you know, uh, deal with the shame and the guilt and the fear that was attached for the white people. And a lot of people don't like to talk about minstrel shows because it's uncomfortable. It's obviously very racist thing. It's
yeah,
part of the racist past, and we all want to think we're over that and there's no more racism. But they were the foundation of all of our popular entertainment, which carries on today, even though it's not explicitly racist. That is the roots of it.
right,
Um,
exactly. As the blues,
right.
as the
Um,
blues.
so minstrel style banjo was the roots of clawhammer, and that does go directly back to African playing styles. So I don't want to say it's not possible that at one point there was one person who came up with this idea of playing the banjo in this way. But in this particular case, I think there were many people all over Africa doing it. and then they all were kind of like taken away from their land and brought to a new place where it just seemed like normal. This style of banjo playing that I'm doing here was kind of a new development coming out of the minstrel style. So there was suddenly a new class of player, a new kind of person called a banjo player, professional
Yeah.
banjo player, which hadn't existed before. And they came in contact with Spanish guitar players, what we call classical guitar players. So they,
Mhm.
playing with up picking, and the similar as with bluegrass, up picking like this, as opposed to what I was doing earlier. So that led to the development of this style, which I'm sharing now. And we nowadays call it classic banjo. In those days, they called it guitar style banjo because it was, took after the guitar style of playing.
Right.
And clawhammer or minstrel style, they called banjo style banjo. But classic style banjo represents the first time in history that banjo music was not only popular, it was separated from minstrel shows. It was its own, the banjo had always been used as a prop, as something to evoke some kind of association with plantations or, something like that. And it was always part of this bigger agenda
Yeah.
of mocking
Yeah.
and humiliating African Americans. And when classic banjo became popular, it was a break, and it was the banjo for the first time in history stood on its own merit as a musical instrument, and kind of inspired a lot of activity. A lot of people were writing music for this style, and a lot more people were picking up the banjo, and it was becoming more, it was being marketed as more genteel and more of a, it had been considered a very rugged and kind of a almost a dirty instrument, right? Because
Yeah.
it had
Yeah.
those associations put on it.
Yeah.
But classic banjo was kind of an attempt to clean it up and make it more accessible, and it was marketed heavily towards women. There's a lot of old photos of women playing banjos, and it worked. People loved it. People were going crazy for the banjo, and it was one of these things. I tell people it was more popular than rock and roll, because rock and roll only lasted, at the height of its popularity, I don't know, 10, 20 years, right? Maybe
Right.
30. And it only appealed to young people. And even then, not to all of them. But classic banjo music was popular amongst young and old, rich and poor, men and women, black and white,
Right.
all across the board for decades. Um, so yeah, it's like, it was a really big deal. People took it for granted, of course, because it was like, it was like the water they were swimming in. But
Yeah.
it wasn't until jazz took over in the 1920s and the teens that the popularity of the banjo started to wane a little bit. They kind of developed the 4-string banjo to fit in with the jazz bands and be louder and put the steel strings on it. But even then, the guitar ended up taking over, and they had electric guitars, which banjos were just passe and didn't really pop up again until bluegrass in the late 40s. But really the 50s is when bluegrass kind of started taking off.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So, do you ever make the trek to the jazz festival, blues festival in Cincinnati? Have you ever been? Do they still have that?
Wow, I was just talking with my friend who lives in Cincinnati, but we didn't no, I'd
They,
love to go.
I had been probably, God, I've been twice, but it'd been so many years ago. It was probably, I'm thinking mid, probably mid '90s, maybe. And they had the bluegrass or the blues and jazz festival in Cincinnati, and it was a gathering of people that were from all walks of life, all nationalities, all creeds of people everywhere. And the whole common goal out of everything was for the music.
Yeah.
And the older the music, the more involved you became with with that with that festival. It's a blues and jazz festival in Cincinnati. They used to have, I don't know that they still have it. It's been years, but I went twice,
Hmm.
and I was blown away at the people that were there, and the artists, the street performers, the stage was lit, and it was just absolutely flipping. It blow your mind if you love
Yeah.
blues too. I love blues, but
I love blues too. My favorite gigs are the festivals because
yeah,
as a performer, you often don't get to see other people play very much because you're playing, it's the weekend, your friends playing across town, or some great artist nationally touring, multinational, international touring. Someone you've loved since you were a kid is playing in the big theater or whatever, and you can't go see them because you're playing your own show. That's
yeah,
common problem, which is a good problem to have. But at a festival, you play your set, or might have multiple sets. But in the meantime, you can go walk around and see what everyone else is doing. You meet
yeah,
people. Maybe sometimes you even get to collaborate, play some tunes with new friends, and keep in touch and stuff. So I've had the best times at festivals, and big ones and small ones too. Like I've been to festivals in other countries, and it's just magic because, like you said, everyone's there for the music. It's just, I mean, like, I'll
yeah,
confess, I'm not really big into sports, but I think it's a similar thing because when you go to a game, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever, everyone's there for the game. Like, they're paying attention, they're there for their team, and
yeah,
it's like that feeling of being together. Like, we're on the same page, right? And at a music festival, it's the same kind of thing. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of the same because
yeah. It
everyone's there
doesn't
for the
matter. It
same
doesn't
reason.
matter. Yeah, that's the whole point. That to me, the whole point of it all is common ground, and more so now because music is it's there's no language boundaries to it.
Yeah.
There's no language boundaries. No, there's no separation when it comes to music. Uh, and
Yeah. The place where I've learned the most and made some of the best connections and just been around the best music is this festival in Virginia, southwestern Virginia, called the Old Fiddlers Convention at Galax.
Mhm.
And I've been going there for 20 years. I missed it this year and last year, because of COVID. But um the first time I went there, I thought, am I gonna are people gonna accept me? Am I, because I don't talk like I'm from there, you know,
Right,
and
right.
I don't know a whole lot about, bluegrass when I was starting out. And man, people were so welcoming.
Yeah,
I was just walking around and people would say, "Hey, is that, you got a fiddle there? What is that? A fiddle? Come on over here. Let's play some tunes." I say, "I don't know a lot of tunes." I said, "That's all right. Just play the ones you know."
yeah. Just saw something, anything. Just saw on that thing, man.
Yeah. And you
But
just
yeah,
get the
yeah.
best. I don't know. I mean,
So
it's incredible for a lot of reasons, but yeah,
so
it's
my
the,
that was my experience when I went to Lansing, Michigan. So I was in the front room. Okay, the not the room off to the left right there where they keep the mandolins and stuff.
mhm.
I was in the main room where they kept the Taylor guitars and the armless chairs, and they were like, "Go ahead and play one, man, play one. Go ahead and get you one, play one." And so they allowed you to actually sit down and play these guitars. Then I don't know about it. It's been years.
Oh yeah, no,
So
that's for sure their policy. Yeah.
yeah. So I was in there and I kept hearing somebody play bluegrass, and I was like, "Is that bluegrass I hear?" So I take a guitar. I think it's like a Washburn or something. I took it over, and they were just doing a little bit, few mandolin licks, and I just fell right in and started playing with them. And that one guy looked at me. He said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Kentucky." And he said, "Are you serious?" And he went, I was treated like royalty. just because, they're like, oh my God, yeah, this one right here is from Kentucky, And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm from.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah, people are so, I mean, when it comes to music, people are just, there's something about them. And
Yeah.
not because I like to play or not because I think, that I can play. It's just, let's see. Time Lord, Baja, Shirley, Old Crony's Garage, David Martin's been here. I see you guys. We're just right in the middle of the conversation talking to Aaron Jonah Lewis about all his endeavors, his music, and what he's got planned next. But I think he's going to do some ragtime. Was that the next?
Yeah.
Was that? I'd
I'll
like to
play a
hear
ragtime piece for you. I'll play something that I'm planning on recording, and I think about which one I want to do. I've actually got a list of 25 songs I'm planning to record. So, well, I'll play this one that I was just playing earlier today. It's not the most impressive, like flashy number, but it's really sweet and beautiful. And it was written by a Detroit composer named Harry P. Guy, who is buried
Yeah,
right here in Elmwood Cemetery.
yeah.
And he was quite the hero of the early Detroit music scene.
Yeah.
So anyway, this one's called Pearl of the Harem.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So that era of music. Downtown New York, 1922, 23.
I would put it, I mean, yeah, it was still happening then, but at that point, jazz was more popular. So it was really like the last decade of the 19th century and the
Oh my
first
God. That
first
is so,
decade or two. So up until the teens, I think ragtime was really, really huge.
I love it. I
You know,
love it.
it was the first music of the freed Black Americans, which quickly was like white people were welcomed in, and you know, writing music as well. And it was you know, people thought this was going to be like America's version of classical music. You know, they thought this is appealing and popular and you can dance to it and it's fun, but it's also dignified and it's interesting. It's not like a shallow kind of uh you know, it has layers to it, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's an interesting kind of music. It's not too popular anymore these days, but people still tend to have some familiarity. If you say ragtime, they maybe say, oh, Scott Joplin, right? You
Yeah.
know, something like that. um but yeah, I think it's so distinctive. And you know, I love the balance of playfulness and dignified kind of, you know, serious. So you can get both at the same time with this
I
music.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I think now this is just my opinion, but I've been asked before, what do you like to play? Uh, and you try to pinpoint that answer, and sometimes you'll give an answer, and you'll think, wrong answer. It's kind of like being on a game show. Oh, wrong answer. Uh, anything that I feel or anything that I hear, whether it's old Southern gospel, clawhammer style, dulcimer, anything that makes music is what I'm about. Anything that makes music is what I'm about. Johnny Hernando, I believe you know him. You may know him, you may not know him, but he has such rhythm with it, with a drum, just a drum and a rock. Uh, and those things when you expand yourself, when you allow yourself to be exposed to history and all kinds of music, you get a different perspective. Like uh, Southern gospel, that's sacred to me. It just is. It just, I mean, it's like the, I don't want to touch it. You know what I'm saying? Just, I try to make myself touch it, but I don't want to touch it because it's sacred to me. I was raised that way. The blues, is sacred. It's the blues are sacred. They really are. If you look at the history, as far as music, if you expose yourself to music, its origins, the reason it's there, you'll get a different eye. You'll look at it from a different angle every time. Never fails. Never fails. Mr. McIntosh has been right here with us. Shirley Kralick's been right here. So, uh, all your music. So, as far as going online, Lisa Lee has been running your link. That is Aaron's link to connect up with Aaron to find out uh, all about him and his ways and his style and his music. Please go check him out. Please show him some love. This has been a treat for me, children. I don't know about you, but this has been like I got like a pocket full of money at Toys R Us right now. But so when it comes to studio work, and I asked you earlier, was you intimidated the first time you went into the studio? I know you said you had people thought they knew what they were doing, but really couldn't find a parking spot. But
Yeah. I
what was
I've definitely felt intimidated in the studio many times. It's so different. I don't really get stage fright hardly ever, but the studio is so different.
yeah.
I had a radio show. I worked on the public radio station in Richmond. I wasn't a DJ. I didn't even do a lot of talking. I read PSAs sometimes. But man, I was so nervous in there too because you don't know who's listening. And when you're recording, it's like, man, this could get out to anybody. I don't know. Like, and this is
Yes.
like how I'll be remembered, like if I don't do a good job now, but I've been doing it long enough that I know now to accept the fact that it'll never be good enough. And whatever I do in the studio, I might record it today and listen to it tomorrow and say, I could do it better now because I had
Yeah.
enough day to
Yeah.
practice. Or
God, you.
I listen to it in a year and I say, oh, I'm so much better than that now. This is embarrassing,
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just think of it as a moment in time. If it's my own project, I actually don't sweat it too much. What I do try to be, I've become a lot more relaxed in the studio when I'm working for other people
Hard.
too. Um,
Yeah.
for a while, I was really nervous because it's like, man, this is your baby. Like,
Yeah.
and you're paying me to be here and do the thing that you want to have. You want to hear me do a certain thing. So I really want to deliver that. And now I'm again still like, just relax, do your best. If it's not good enough, it's not your problem. They decided to hire you, so you know, just do your best. Being nervous about it isn't going to help anything.
Especially when they close the door behind you in the sound room. In the sound room, when they close the door behind you and you're looking out the glass, and they go, and I'm like, oh man, oh no,
I
no,
know, I know.
no.
I
And
remember,
especially
man,
if they come over the mic and they say, do that and over,
yeah.
or nope, you're not high enough, or
Oh man, now I'm remembering so many studio stories. There was one session I did. I only did a couple of numbers on the album. I wasn't in the band. I was a featured guest type thing. And the engineer, after every take, he would say, "That was really good. I should have pressed record." And it's like, oh my god, man, just stop with that. Like, don't even.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I got I kind of got the chills one time when I was recording in Nashville, and the guy, the engineer told me that I was recording in the same booth where Vassar had done a lot of recording.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that's why that feeling is here. Like, it's I can't describe it, and I'm not gonna say there was this ghost or anything, but there
Yeah.
was just a feeling of like, oh, there's something special going on,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. So
I
I was the last time I was in the studio, I was like, I have it recorded. I think I posted. I said, let's do that one over because I felt like I kind of just I didn't have enough ass into the. I didn't have enough pressure. Just didn't have the pressure that I was wanting. I just couldn't. Pressure. I'm talking about the force, and I wouldn't get my point across. And I said, we need to do that. We need to do that over. He was like, no, that was good, man. I said, we're not going to do that over. He said, no, that's you. That is you. That is so you. I said, okay. So I trust him,
yeah,
and he sends me messages every day. He's like, are you writing? Are you writing? I'm writing. Are you right? I'm writing. It's just, I love it. I love it.
that's great. Yeah,
Samantha is in the house.
man,
John Cash.
that's great too, because that songwriting is in a way you could compare it to mining, right? So it's like your grandfather was a miner, and
Yeah.
now you're mining for songs, and
Yeah.
the more you dig, the more you'll find.
It's crazy.
But yeah, there's always those times where you do a take and you're like, oh, I really screwed that up, or it just wasn't good, it wasn't what I wanted, and then you listen back to it and you're like, that was the best take, that was the really good one. So it's another confirmation of how that self-judgment like just doesn't help anything, and it's totally inaccurate. It's like you think, or you have another take, you're like, man, I killed it, that was the best one. You listen back to it, you're like, oh, that was not it.
Yeah. I think we was going to double up. We don't auto tune, but we was going to double up. octave higher and octave lower on a part of the song. And I kept following my own voice. He said, nope, same note. And I said, okay. And he was like, do it again. And we done it again. And he's like, nope, same note. I said, forget it. Forget it. Just cut it there because I'm going to be following my own voice. Sound like two twins but it's crazy. It's crazy. But I love Michigan. I lived there for some years. Worked right outside on 8 Mile and Warren.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I lived in Hamtramck. You know where Hamtramck is? I lived in Ham.
Yes. Before it was cool, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool these days.
Yeah. So I lived in Hamtramck, and my brother actually lived on 8 Mile and Van Dyke. And I worked in Warren, and he worked at I think Thornapple Valley at the time. And yeah, Michigan was good to me, man. Good to me. I loved it there.
Yeah, there's good people here. Got all these lakes and
yeah,
right by the river. I like to take the dog down to the river. They put a skate park in there a few years ago, and it's very vibrant. There's a dog park too, so I take the dog to the park, look at all the people skating. There's always some really impressive skaters.
Yeah.
Not really my thing. I'm at the age where I'm like, gotta protect my fingers.
Yeah. Especially my left hip. I gotta protect my hip. If I break a hip, they're gonna have to, it's over with. Yeah. But the thing about it is too is I had written a song, I'm going back to old Kentucky. And I actually wrote that song from Michigan, because there's something about these hills, buddy. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
There's something about these hills.
Did you connect with the Kentuckians of Michigan when you were here? There's like,
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I was like, man, wow, this is great. These people,
a lot of Kentucky people here.
Yeah. Especially out on, I think a lot of them in Hamtramck were on Buffalo and Kniff, out by the Ford transmission plant. I believe at the time that's what it was. But yeah, it's great. And the music has always been unreal there.
Yeah, it still is. There's a lot going on. I can't even, that's like I said earlier about being a performer and not being able to go to your friends' shows. It's similar. Like I have to practice and develop my own stuff, so I don't get to go out and find out about everything. And there's a lot under the radar too, like Detroit's got a lot of immigrant communities that you wouldn't find elsewhere. Like there's the largest Arabic community in Dearborn in the world outside of the Middle East.
Yep.
Got big Yemeni population in Hamtramck now, and Bangladeshi, enough to have their own music school. And I'm not going to start listing them all, but I live in Mexican town. It's been a predominantly Mexican and Latin American for the past 100 years here.
I've got a lot of friends there that are Mexican.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got, my neighbors last night had a live band. It was amazing. I fell asleep to the sound of the trumpet. I was like, man, they are really, I love it. It's just beautiful. So yeah, lots of music.
Let me reverse myself just for a moment. The radio, there's something magic about the radio. For real.
Yeah.
What's your take?
I was listening to radio my whole drive. So I drove for 8 hours to get to New York State to find out it was canceled. Luckily, I had friends nearby to crash with and didn't drive home. Actually, I had a great time, even though it wasn't what we'd planned. But yeah, I didn't bring any devices to listen to music on. The Bluetooth in my car doesn't work. So I was like, I could have tried to rig something to plug into my phone, but I was like, I'm just going to listen to the radio or just talk on the phone with people or, silence. And Um, it's interesting. I mean, really made me appreciate the Detroit radio scene when I got home, because driving through Ohio and Pennsylvania is slim pickings. It's very not a lot of stuff. I mean, I listen to some talk radio. I
Yeah.
enjoy listening to I like listening to people share news that's different from what I normally hear, or in ways that is different from what I normally hear, or like just sharing opinions that are different from what I normally hear. Because for me, it's a sort of exercise. Because again, like we're talking about common ground, and like as a musician, I want to be able to go anywhere and connect with people.
Yeah.
So
That's me.
people are
That's
saying
me.
stuff that to me is like, oh, that's different, that's, or maybe even a
Yeah.
little
That's me.
disturbing or something. Like
Yeah.
it's an exercise for me to just kind of give it a fair chance and even allow my mind to be changed a little bit. Um, which I know is weird, probably sounds weird to a lot of people, because you know, if you might think to have integrity, you have to have firmly held beliefs that you stick to, right? I think beliefs and values aren't the same thing, and opinions are far removed.
Yeah.
Opinions are what did I say? Opinions are like, anyway, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did a bit of that. That for me is kind of a fun thing to do. And other than that, like I've been involved with radio. When I was in high school, I had a radio show,
Mm-hmm.
which I loved. I've always loved listening to the radio. I grew up listening to classic rock on the radio. That was my favorite station. Um, and I learned, like, I taught myself guitar when I was about 11 or 12, and I just learned a lot of stuff from listening to the radio, playing classic rock stuff. It's
Right.
really fun. Um, but yeah, and then I worked at the public radio station in Richmond, and I was a board op. Um, that was kind of cool to be, behind the scenes, but man, the responsibility, I was like constantly like, oh geez, I'm all alone here. If something goes wrong, it's just on me.
Yeah.
But hitting the button at the right time and the faders and um, but yeah, modern situation, my current situation with radio
Yeah.
is that I don't hardly listen to any music of any kind anymore, but I
Right.
do occasionally. One, if I'm trying to have a dance party, because like especially in the winter when it's cold, I need to warm up. I'll just dance around by myself or with my partner. Um, Two, I listen to music when I'm studying it and I'm trying to learn how to play something or to understand something better. And then three, like, yeah, sometimes when I'm driving, there's one station I love. They play Arabic pop music all the time. And it's so cool. Like the vocals are just unbelievable. And then the instruments too. Like, I always wonder, like, I listen to a Spanish language radio station too sometimes. And the playing is so precise. I'm just like, are those humans or is that computers doing that? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
it
they auto
sounds
tuned.
great.
Those are auto tuned. But
Yeah, it's wild.
see,
So
problem.
yeah, I did kind of go on like a music fast for a while where I just didn't really want to like allow myself to connect too much to recorded music because it's
Yeah.
so removed from the present moment. But I came back from that. Like I will, click on the radio when I'm driving and just whatever's on, I can bob my head to it and like tune in a little to whatever's happening, the vocals and the instruments and stuff. So
They
yeah, I don't know, but radio is very powerful. I mean, you can reach a lot of people. You can, we were gonna do a fundraiser square dance for the well, that's a whole nother thing I didn't get into talking about is the square dancing. Been doing that since 2014 in Detroit.
that's
But
crazy. Is
we were
that
gonna do a big one to be a part of the fundraiser for the Detroit public radio station.
right?
And then also we get Canadian radio too. So it's pretty rich. Like you get French music and Arabic music and you know, yeah, Latin American stuff and a lot of R&B and rap and hip hop and stuff. It's like really cool. There's a gospel station that I love to listen to that's
Yeah.
like you just feel the energy coming through. It's like, man.
Yeah, if you limit yourself, and I'm saying this as honest, and I've been honest since I've started the whole YouTube thing. It is what it is. But if you limit yourself in music now, if you limit yourself, you are shortchanging everything about you, because the old style hymnal gospel music, the repetitive recession without instruments, the acapellas, even down to pianos, to just banjos or guitars. There's so many. I mean, there's so much more out there. There's so much more out there than you can imagine when it comes to the music itself. But time stamping myself, I had done a radio station interview with 88.7, the Apple Show. The Apple,
Interviews on the radio.
huh?
Interviews on the radio. That's another story.
Yeah. So Jim Webb takes me upstairs and he says, if you would just go ahead and give us a radio call, shout out, and tell them hey, you're this Roland Smith, keep your radio dial. So I time stamped myself, and it kind of told on myself, because at the time when I was listening to 88.7, it was the voice of the Hillbilly Nation. That's what they called it. Yeah. Every time you flipped on 88.7, it was, hey, this is 88.7, the voice of the Hillbilly Nation. Keep your radio dial right here. That's what I had said. He said, do you know how long it's been since we've used the voice of the Hillbilly Nation? And I was like, I felt about this big, and I was like, well, Jim, I really don't know. He said, you're talking probably mid-80s. I was like, oh, God. Why would I do that? But anyway, this is Roland Smith, and you're listening to 88.7. The voice of the Hillbilly Nation. Keep your radio dial right here. So
I've had some really great radio interviews, and there's also some where they, they didn't do their research. They're like, so who are you and what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm grateful for the chance to talk about myself, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you should say, no, I'm the janitor here. I don't know what I'm.
Yeah.
I'm the janitor here.
I thought this was the bathroom.
It is small in there though, right? It's like so confined.
Yeah.
You walk in, you sit down, they're like, yeah, where's the bathroom?
There was a really cool radio show, or I mean, it's probably still going, but this I've been on it a couple times. This Canadian show in Windsor. What's it called? The traveling salesman or something. I'm embarrassed. I don't remember the name of it, but the DJ did a show where he asked all these different artists to contribute 5 songs. And I think he wanted them to be about Detroit or somehow connected to Detroit.
Yeah.
It was like his Detroit show, because he's in Windsor. He's always Canadian stuff. So that was cool. Like I was like, oh man, I haven't made a playlist for a radio show since high school. This is fun.
I love it though. That's probably, I don't know. That's maybe I'm holding on to the past, but like you said, the radio had become it has become, I don't know what it's become. What has MTV become? Yeah,
It's just, yeah.
It evolves, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a dinosaur, and I hate, I love parts of change. Don't get me wrong, because change has to come about before anything gets better or anything gets worse. Something has to change somewhere. You change, I change, we change.
The only thing that never changes is that there's always going to be change.
Exactly right. And I don't know. like the radio interviews or the radio shows or the festivals and I just, I guess I'm just a dinosaur because the last time I'd done a small venue here, uh, probably 3 months ago, maybe. And when I walked out on stage, I was looking over the crowd and I was like, dude, these are kids, man. These are kids. These are kids. To me, they were kids.
Yeah.
They were old enough to drink and get in.
Well, good for you. I mean, most of the people I play for, I mean, lately retirement homes and stuff, which I love playing for older folks because
Oh yeah,
they
yeah,
dig it,
yeah.
they
Oh,
pay
definitely.
attention, they appreciate it. But I do like playing for younger people too. I like playing all ages, really. I just it's been a while since I played in a bar
Yeah. So I
because my
bought.
solo show is not that loud. I play with a
Yeah,
dance band in a bar, and everyone, either they dance or they just drink and talk, and that's cool.
yeah. That's what I like. I like it. I like. Now I think it was Sunday before last. I think I just done a. I came in and of course I was on moonshine and I think like 4 hours later I was finished. And I mean I really don't remember. I have to go back and kind of watch what I say or I'll
Yeah,
call a buddy of mine. He's in the chat now. I call him. Did I say anything stupid? You know, because I mean, you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Well, why don't I tell you about my current project that I'm working on?
please do, please do.
So the Mozart of the banjo is mostly banjo and piano, and it's all pieces by one composer. And I did a banjo duo with this guy who I've been playing with for almost 20 years or so.
Yeah,
Um, these folks uh, played piano, and these people played bass and ukulele on one number. But mostly it was banjo and piano, and it was as written. So for this next project, I thought I want to play ragtime. I want to play banjo ragtime. So during the ragtime era, banjo was very popular, and there was a lot of rags written for banjo, but there was also a lot written for piano. And I adapted a bunch of them that were written for piano. I made banjo versions, like Pearl of the Harem, the one I played.
right.
And I thought, instead of just doing banjo piano again, which would be wonderful and sound great and logistically pretty simple, there's this one piece I thought this would be really cool with a brass band. No, it started with organ. I thought I want to get pipe organ on this piece because I volunteer at a movie theater. I don't know if you ever went to the Senate Theater, but it's got the biggest pipe organ
Yeah,
in Michigan.
yeah,
It's so cool. I love
yeah.
it. Um, so I started thinking, well, I'll get pipe organ on this track. Maybe I'll find another one or two songs that I'll get organ on. And then there was another song I was like, this would be really cool with brass band because I'm kind of friends with the Detroit Party Marching Band. It's like a 40-piece or even bigger band. That whole nother story talking about them. They're very cool though. And so I got like a smaller version of that band to work with me on some songs. And it just kept growing. I made 4 arrangements for string quartet, 3 for woodwind ensemble. What else? I got a little ragtime band I put together with piano, guitar, uke, cello, and banjo, and probably some percussion. And so it's 25 songs, all these different ensembles, and it's very ambitious. There's 28 musicians that need to get paid. I wrote all these arrangements myself, most of them, 1 or 2 of them I got from elsewhere. But so it's very ambitious. It's very involved. So we've been working on it already for a year and a half, my co-producer / pianist and and I finished the first phase, which was selecting the pieces and arranging them.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal for me because I'd never written stuff for woodwinds before. I'd never written a string quartet before. I just spent a long time on this stuff, and I'm really happy with it now. So now I'm into the third phase, which is actually finding all the musicians. I got about half of them now, and finding where we're going to record. I think we're going to try and record at the Senate actually, but then I gotta,
At the
you know,
theater.
hire a really good recording engineer who knows how to record a whole room like that. And the fundraising part of things, because this project, just paying the musicians is going to be a lot more money than I have. So it's I'm okay with the thought that if I don't raise the money, it's not going to happen. I'll do something else.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out how to raise that money right now. So my plan is to try and get private donors to cover the production costs so that I can actually put my energy into practicing and rehearsing and recording. And when that's done, I'm going to do crowdfunding to cover the post-production costs, like the, you know, promotion and marketing, the artwork, the manufacturing, whether it's going to be vinyl records or CDs or both or what, you know, all of that stuff, distribution. So yeah, the budget, like not even including all the costs, what I came up with is about 45 grand. And I think for most people, that's a lot of money. But
Yeah, it
I'm just
is.
putting that out there in case anyone who's listening either is someone or knows someone who really likes to fund unique and exciting music projects, and just get in touch with me. And you know, I'm looking for private donors to cover, you know, at least the first half of that, and I got a chunk of my own money to throw into it.
Yeah.
So once I, you know, it's kind of awkward to like approach musicians and be like, hey, do you want to work with me on this project? It's really cool. I will have money to pay you later, probably.
Yeah,
But
probably.
you know, some
Oh,
musicians
yeah.
are like, oh, that sounds fun, I'll do it regardless, I don't care. And other
Yeah.
people are like, well, I'm a professional and I don't, you know, I don't have time to do stuff unless you have a check for me, you know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
respect that. I say
Yeah.
no to stuff all the time because it doesn't pay, but I
Yeah.
also say yes to stuff sometimes when it doesn't pay. So
Right. Right.
anyway, I'm just putting that out there. I was talking to a friend about it a week or two ago, and she said, you know, I actually know someone who really likes funding music projects. So I'm gonna tell them about this and write something up for me. So I did. And you know, I haven't heard back yet, but just, you know, you don't get
You don't
anything if
know
you
until
don't
you,
ask.
yeah. Yeah. Until,
Just
until,
putting it out there. If I
yeah.
don't expect anything, I don't expect anyone to
Right.
give me anything. But if there is someone out there, or you know someone out there who's like really likes to help make these kind of projects happen, that's awesome. Connect me. And if you want to contribute and you don't have like thousands of dollars, but you want to put in like 5 for $20 or whatever, stay tuned for the crowdfunding thing. That's going to come later. And
Yeah.
also, if you want to keep in touch with me, I have a mailing list, and I send out a newsletter via email, very old fashioned style. I do it every month or two and just kind of give an update on what I'm working on, the videos that I've made, or the songs I've released, or the gigs I have coming up. And sometimes talk about, you know, my thoughts on what's going on in the world,
Yeah.
or books that I've been reading that I recommend or don't recommend, you know, stuff like that.
What we'll do, Lisa Lee is running your channel. I believe your channel. Yep, your channel link. What I'll do is I'll at the end of the video, when I go to the editing, I'll add everything, your email, I'll add your everything to that they can get in contact with you for whatever reason, whether
Cool.
it's to help fund or to buy music, whatever that you want to contact Aaron for, it will be in the description box.
Yeah,
Have you,
awesome. Yeah,
have
Bandcamp
you got another?
Fridays, all
Huh?
that. And if you do the Bandcamp Fridays thing, you know, it's like the last Friday of the month. I think they don't charge any fees, so whatever you donate to the artist goes straight to the artist. And I've got, you know, like a dozen albums on Bandcamp. I actually have an old project that I'm still quite proud of. It's not music, it's field recordings of natural sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something like, I don't know, 14 CDs worth of material up on that page that you can
That is
listen
cool.
to and download. So
That's
anyway, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm all over the place, and I don't actually want to, spend all night telling you everything about me, but if we were gonna do that, it would take a long, long time.
Do you have another fiddle tune in mind?
Oh, absolutely. Should I pull one from the bag or just from my brain?
Oh, let's do the bag. We got to do
Okay,
the bag. We got to do. I mean, I'm hooked on the bag.
it's
I
pretty
mean,
fun.
yeah.
It's pretty fun.
I'm probably stealing that idea.
Okay, I'm gonna pull with my left hand this time.
The Jonah effect.
What have we here? Oh, everyone knows this one.
Cotton Eye, Cotton Eye Joe. What?
It's a good tune.
Oh, I love it.
So, I mean, I know some obscure tunes, but this one is really good. Everyone knows this one. So yeah, this is another one I'd probably play in cross tuning, but I'll just give it a go in standard here.
Ah, love it. I love it. I'm glad you pulled that from the bag.
It's always the right one for the right time.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Baja Wow, man. Brown Dog Prospecting is in the house all the way from Australia. That's awesome. Jimmy C is in the house. Oh my God. David Krolick's here. Shirley Krolick. Oh, unreal. Unreal. Man, what a musician. I am so honored to have you up here. I'm telling you, I love doing the Artisan Spotlight. Not to be people need to know. They just need to know. Even small creators like me can do their part. They need to know. Reach
I
out
love
to.
that you call it Artisan Spotlight too, because it's I don't object to being called an artist, but I really think of myself more as an artisan, like it's a craft for me. It's not like some kind of supernatural you know, inspiration type where there's like spirits whispering in my ear. It's just like it's work. You just work at it. You just do it all the time and it gets better and you discover things and you improve at things. But yeah, it's not like there's some kind of genius involved where you're different from everyone else. I think anything I'm doing, anyone else can do. It wouldn't be exactly the same, obviously, because we're different people,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. I kind of fight against the the way people talk about talent, like oh, you've got so much talent. I could never do that. Talent, talent is a function of work. It's not something you're born with. It's a decision that you want to work, and it has to do with your passion for it. Like, you're not gonna want to do something that you don't like doing. So talent really means you love what you're doing. It could be music, it could be athletics, it could be, any kind of
Exactly.
art. It's
Exactly right.
to just
It's
do it a lot.
it's a constant work, and like you said earlier, um, you're not gonna you always endeavor to learn. You're never going to say, "Well, I'm done learning now."
Yeah.
It's not like you come to the end of the pentatonic scale and
That's it. That's the
you
end of the
say,
road.
yeah, and you say, "Well, I think I found the end of the internet."
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about right here.
Yeah. I think I
think I
know
found
everything now.
Yeah, I know everything now. I found the end of the internet. That's not the way it's going to be. You're always going to learn chord progressions. You're going to learn scales. You're going to learn tones. You're going to learn pitch, and especially if you leave and like me, I've been wanting to learn harmonica, and I've worked and worked, and it's a good way to hyperventilate. Trust me.
Yeah.
But some days I'm like, yes, I'm getting somewhere, and tomorrow I'm like, oh crap, where am I going?
Yeah.
So you only fail if you stop trying.
Mhm.
You only fail if you stop trying. If you stop trying, you have failed. That's the only time you fail. You don't fail at learning guitar. You don't fail at learning bass or fiddle or mandolin or banjo or harmonica or whatever, dulcimer. Thing about it is you fail when you stop. And that's just the way it is. Just keep
Absolutely.
playing. Play.
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen said, keep playing, man. What else have you got?
Yeah. That's it exactly.
My Monica's in here. Let's see. Cat's in the house. We got cats in the house. We got Cat Dillinger in the house. She's in the house. Cat's in the house. Mark's Mark, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you all coming in.
I probably should go actually, gotta let the dog out.
I greatly appreciate you and what you're doing in your community and around home. Do you want to play us a bye-bye tune?
Yeah, I feel like I should just do one more.
Children, if y'all want to stay around, I'm going to close this one out because I don't want to be connected to the Artisan Spotlight. So what I'm going to do is you'll find his links in the description box of this video, and I may start another live stream for Sad Song Sunday. I may.
I want to do a song for you about moonshine. You might already know it. It's called Sugar Hill, and it was recorded by a number of different people, and it's still quite popular today in the old time circles. They named a record label after this song. If you want to get your eyes knocked out, you want to get your fill, you want to get your head cut off, just climb up Sugar Hill. cook inhaled her, drank 2 quarts of sugar sauce, and then her stomach failed her.
I love it. I love it.
10 cents in my pocket, $10 in my bill. If I had $10 more, I'd climb up Sugar Hill. Can't you hear him jingle? I'm gonna court them pretty gals as long as I stay single. If I had no horse to ride, I'd be found a walking up and down old Toenail Gap just to hear my good darling talking. If you want to get your eyes knocked out, you want to get your fill. If you want to get your head cut off, just climb up Sugar Hill.
Aaron, Jonah, Lewis, right there. Oh my God, you have absolutely made my day with that tune right there. Well, you've made my day just being right here. Hey,
It's been a pleasure, Roland. Thank you for having me.
I greatly appreciate you. If you want to contact Aaron, I'm going to leave his email, all of his contact links, his YouTube channel, his Instagram, everything about Aaron will be in the description box below. Super awesome to have him here. Great things in the community, great things for music. He's got new music out. Go check him out. Follow along. If you want to help him fund his project, help him fund his project. If you want to say hello and thank you, that's greatly appreciated too. Hey, you have a wonderful evening, and I greatly appreciate you, and I'll catch you on social media.
All right, sounds good.
Much love, brother. Much love.
All right, thank you.
Totally awesome. Totally awesome. Totally awesome. Totally awesome musician. Do you think, does somebody want to go do a after party? Do you want me to go live? Because if I do, I'm going to end off this one and start up another one, because I don't want to take away from Artisan Spotlight by me bailing out a bunch of. Come on, back up, bro. Come on, man. You want me to come back on? Because this is going to be totally different from. Yeah, well, I'll see you guys in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go take a small intermission. Aaron was totally awesome. That was totally awesome. Everybody that I've had on Artisan Spotlight has showed up and showed out. And I am so grateful for those that come on. And you don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be, you don't have to play an instrument to be on Artisan Spotlight. If if we can get the times worked out together, I'd be more than happy to have you up here. I'd be honored to have you up here. But this is what Artisan Spotlight is about. Would you have known Aaron, Jonah, Lewis, other than right here for my people? So I'm going to take a small intermission, grab me something to drink. I got the old jug here, and I don't want to fat fingers. What? Fat fingers, see? Yeah, see, boy. But I want to, the reason I want to separate from this stream is because I don't want this stream to be a part of Artisan Spotlight. I don't want to take away. I should have done this all along, but I don't want to take away from the artisans. So I'm going to end it here, and we'll take a short intermission, and then we'll be back.